I'm glad that you're here. Did anyone else know that South Carolina had a national park? Because I sure didn't. And whilst flipping through a book of national parks illustrated, I saw the word Congaree and said to myself, what in the hell is that? So after finding out it was only 4 hours away, I packed up my camera bag, grabbed whatever film I had lying around, including a fun little mystery film, and began speeding off to South Carolina.
Well, got the obligatory crossing the state line portion out of the way.
When I got to the park, I decided to spend some time checking out the visitor center and tried to get an idea of where I would want to be for sunrise the next morning.
Well, the mosquito meter is at a 2, which is good because I forgot bug spray.
Plus, I still had about half a roll of Tri-X in the camera that I needed to get rid of since I wanted to shoot color in the morning. My first impressions with Congaree were pretty interesting. From everything advertised, I thought it was going to be some goopy swamp, but most of the park was actually this really spacious and beautiful pine forest. While walking through the trees, I found this really odd standalone door in the middle of everything, and it was just odd enough to be my subject for a few pictures. I was also just enthralled with the look of the forest, but I don't know if black and white was really the best choice for the composition. I just love the emptiness of the forest floor and the space between all the trees. It almost makes you just want to take off and run through all of them. That is until you see what's between each tree. For anyone with arachnophobia, this is your one and only
spider warning!
I didn't really have a great way to reference the size of these things, but this one was one of the smaller ones, and it was about the size of the palm of my hand.
I swear to God, if I wake up tomorrow and one of these is on my tent, I'm gonna be so upset.
These things are absolutely everywhere, and if you step off trail by even a meter or so, there's about an 80% chance you'll walk right through one of their webs. Anyway, I finally finished off the Tri-X and realized I had about a mile to hike to a campsite that, frankly, I had no idea how to get to. So I had to fit everything I had into 2 backpacks and start walking.
I think it's safe to say I'm fairly lost.
The other bad news was the sun was beginning to set, and I did not want to be walking around these woods in the dark and run into any 8-legged friends. However, my tiny pea brain kept seeing pretty things, so I had quite the internal debate of stopping and reloading the camera.
That is just astoundingly gorgeous. And if I wasn't trying to get to the campsite by dark, I would so stop and take a picture of that. It's too pretty. I'm gonna do it.
Man, am I so glad I took the time to stop, because these shots suck. You know, sometimes it just doesn't turn out how you think it's going to, but so it goes.
I got the shots. I just gotta pack all this shit up again and hike half a mile.
Luckily, I was on the right path, and the campsite was just around the bend. So I set up my tent and fired off one more shot before it got too dark. I actually really like this one. It shows off everything I loved about the forest there. The atmospheric sky, the spacing that allows you to see off in the horizon, the unique trunk shapes. I mean, I don't care what you think. The shot's f***ing cool. But with no more light left, all there was for me to do was wait until morning to begin my real exploration of the park. The next morning, the evaporating dew created these incredible light rays coming through the trees. So once I popped back onto the main road, I set up shot and grabbed these. I finally got a proper light meter for this shoot, so I think I was able to meter for highlights a lot more accurately than I could with my phone. But enough about pretty light, let's get to what the park is actually known for, the Boardwalk Trail. This is the little walkway that features the infamous cypress knees, which according to my pamphlet, rises from the roots to possibly provide air and stabilization during flooding. Huh, neat. Anyway, they look sick and kind of like the egg chamber in the movie Alien, so needless to say, they made for some cool subjects. I don't know if Kodak Gold was really the best choice to really showcase the greens of the forest, so when that roll was spent, I opted to use my last roll of Fuji Pro 400H. This is by far one of my favorite shots from the trip. The dramatic lighting, those Fuji greens, the reflections, and the cypress knees just add this feeling of an almost alien, dreamlike world. Definitely not one I would mind adding to the 4Escapes portfolio. Truthfully, I was stalling until there was an abundant amount of light to shoot that mystery roll I was hinting at in the beginning. That roll is rolly infrared. You see, the chlorophyll in plants actually reflects infrared light, so instead of the leaves showing up a boring dark gray, they should show up a more bright white. So the more green, the more sweet chlorophyll, which means a brighter white. The only catch is Rolly senses the full spectrum and the infrared, so you have to filter out all that visible light with an R72 filter. And the catch of the catch is that it greatly reduces the amount of light you're letting in. So I was metering at an ISO of 6, which is really low by the way, meaning most of my exposures were between half a second and a full second in midday light. Alright, enough nerd shit. Here's the photos. While these are cool, one thing I didn't think about is if just about everything is alive and well, you're gonna get a very busy, mostly white image with very little points of contrast. But hey, you live and you learn. So admittedly, I didn't choose the best location to try out infrared for the first time. However, it was a great proof of concept and gave me a much better idea of what to look for with infrared photography in the future. I actually think the last shot I took with it wasn't half bad. Granted, I think it turned out a little bit better when I took it with my phone. As I wrapped up my shots, I began heading home.
Well, I'd say that was a fairly successful day. I just hope to God some of them turn out cool.
As for Congaree, it was actually a really pleasant park. It doesn't offer the incredible grand views or charming amenities and lodges that other national parks have, but overall I don't see why it gets all the hate it does on the internet. Yeah, it's got bugs, but you're outside and there's bugs outside. Anyway, if you're in the area, I'd say it's at least worth a visit. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind liking the video, it really helps the channel grow. Leave a comment as well if you had a favorite pick or just any advice on infrared photography. I'd love to crowdsource a little more information about it. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you have a good one.